Hello? Can you hear? Yes. Hello. It's quite a difficult pitch, this one. You know, amazing conversation about the universe, and then Wrexham coming next. Two nerdy people talking about media optimization and AI, which is good that I've got Dr. Ali here. My name is Steve King. I'm the CEO of Dragonfly AI. We're right by the attention bar, if you want to see us. Dragonflies are really interesting insects. It's amazing. Like, the human eye is incredible. We all see such an amazing things with our eyes. We're so lucky to have this vision. But we've only got 3 little parts of our vision, red, green, blue. A dragonfly has over 20. It can see transparency. It can see 360 degrees. It can see 200 frames a second, unlike our human eyes. And I think that's amazing when you think about it. And what we're trying to do with Dragonfly is give that kind of power to creatives. Let them see things which are not visible to the human eye in order to make better creative decisions. Now, if you would have known Dragonfly, I was actually here last year with Hanny Skardam from Reckitt, and she was amazing. And she was talking about Reckitt were able to get £500,000 more throughput from advertising per brand when they Dragonflied their content. And at the time, we've been talking only about attention. You could think of us as predictive eye tracking, if you like. And we felt that was really important, putting the right content in the right place. And then this man came along. So we saw Dr. Ali on ITV and a couple of places talking about attention. And it made us realize there's probably more to creative effectiveness than attention, and that we really need to start building new product around that. So Dr. Ali is going to talk a little bit about not just attention and how that's important or difficult, but also memorability and emotion and how these things tie together. So thank you. Oh, and he's now a dragon. So Dr. Ali has joined us, so I'm hoping he can talk a little bit about what you're doing for our product.
Sure. Well, hello, everybody. I call this talk, we need to talk about attention, for 3 reasons. Firstly, because I'm going to show you really rather an important study that I did a few years ago, which I think has a lot to say, and I'm going to try and change your perspective on attention. Secondly, because I don't know whether to call myself a reformed or a lapsed academic, but I have a foot in both camps. I'm going to show you some academic work as well and some ideas which I think we can use. There's a massive body of work out there on attention which we can use, and it's really useful. And thirdly, as Steve just said, it's because there's a whole bunch of really good academic stuff out there that we can again use, and it's not just attention in isolation, it's attention in reference to other things as well. So, taking it down to its very most basic core, basically we assume attention happens, and by attention I mean that people are expending cognitive effort to process something. That's my definition. Something goes into memory and people act on the meaning. That's sort of generally what we talk about. But is that actually true? Well, it was a few years ago now, but it's a study between 2019 and 2020, and didn't really see the light of day because of COVID. But I was very honored to be able to do a big piece of research with ITV, where we put cameras in people's homes. It was about the editorial, so we weren't telling them it was about attention. So we got to see all about the advertising and what was going on. And it was a very big study because there were 64 households, 136 people. And I spent most of 2020 watching videos of people watching advertising. 150 hours, 17,017 OTS. And also, I know it's a few years old, but I did the same thing with ThinkBox about 18 months ago, and we saw exactly the same thing. So what happened? What do we see? Do we get this kind of idea that people pay attention? Well, 6% of the time, people commented on the ad. Sometimes positive, sometimes negative. Actually, mostly just sort of, oh, I've been there, or I know that actor. And 18% of the time, it was people looking with their eyes on the screen, and there were no other distractions. So we can sort of infer that that is full attention. But then, what about everything else? Well, about 22% of the time, people were visually distracted. They were looking at a second device. Importantly, though, the only auditory source in the room was the TV. And then we had 15% of the time, which was auditory distraction, where people basically had their eyes on the screen, but they were listening, probably having a conversation with somebody else, but they didn't look at them because it's home and that's what people do. We had this other thing like low attention, which was sort of, it's kind of like the kids and pets bit, where the program's on, the ads are on in the background rather, but there's lots of distractions, but essentially the ad was in there somewhere, but exactly where, how much there was some partial watching perhaps. There was fast forwarding, and we did choose people who were watching live, so that's maybe a bit low, but fast forwarding does work, and I can explain why at some of the time. And 12% of the time, people were there at the end of the programs when the ad break started, and they either went somewhere else or they were fully distracted. So out of all of that, we know there's 24% of the time we can infer people were paying full attention. But there's 64% of the time when people were perhaps doing something, but is it kind of, is that wasted? Is it nothing? Should we ignore it? Well, according to the kind of science behind attention, the most prominent theory at the moment is a thing called attentional load theory. And there's a lot been mentioned over the last few years about where eyes point. But where eyes point isn't attention. Because essentially you've got this function in the brain which then allows people to spread kind of their attention or their focus around different senses. So, for example, you can listen to music and read a book at the same time. You've got enough attentional capacity, there's attentional load to do that task. Whereas if you're doing a task which is like driving, where you should be giving it full attention, and then you try and use a mobile phone, you run out of attentional load, and so bad things can happen, so we try and avoid it. So, in theory, all this other stuff, it's not a question of whether people are paying attention or not, it's whether there's enough attentional load left over for any of the advertising. Now, I can show you a big long reel of what we saw, but this is the best one, and hopefully it will show you exactly what I meant.
All around here, sponsors, I'm a celebrity.
I'm a celebrity.
These are radio treats.
What about Archie?
What about Archie?
Archery.
What about Archie?
Us reindeers like the nuggets too.
Yeah, pass it up.
I like my Willie Q, the sensational brand new album.
I don't get the point of adverts nowadays, because as soon as adverts come on, we're all on this phone anyway, aren't we? So you don't really see adverts, do you?
Let some people go.
So my friend in Leeds there made the perfect point. He was looking at his phone, but he was still reacting to the TV and reacting to the advertising. But he didn't think he was, interestingly. And if you want to see a piece of work on this, I did a project with ThinkBots called Earning Attention, did it with a professor of attention from Royal Holloway University called Polly Dalton, and it will show you how attentional load can be applied to all this. But I don't think it's just about TV advertising. It's about all advertising. Yes, there are going to be those moments when there is going to be this moment of high attention when people are going to process something at full attention. But nobody goes out into the street and says, oh, I must go and see what all the ads are on the bus stops today. And nobody goes, when they're kind of reading their socials, they might be listening to a podcast. When they're looking at a magazine, they could be on a bus going somewhere. And there's a strong possibility, in fact, it's highly likely, that the vast majority of time people are going to encounter advertising or any kind of marketing asset is when they're going to be doing something else. So the question is there enough attentional load? And should we really be thinking about this? And well, I think to do this, the current mindset is like, let's be creative and let's get all the attention, let's win the attention, and we're great and we're all good, we're in that top level. But I'm going to say, why don't we think about this thing a little bit differently? Why don't we say, okay, let's just assume that people are going to spend a lot of their time and they're going to have their attention shared across lots of different things. It's going to be bombarded with all thousands of messages every day. Let's assume that they are in attention deficit. They're not going to be able to spend all of their time looking at the things that we want them to and giving it their full attention. And the implication should be that we should actually make ads visually and cognitively simple to understand. And I think this fits in with another really nice piece of psychology, which is called fluent processing. Because if you come across something, the brain loves to adopt new information, loves to learn new information. And if you make it really easy for it to do it, it loves it. It gives itself a little dopamine kick because it learned something new. And if you make something perceptual and cognitively fluent, it's familiar, it's liked more, and it's believed more. And this is all a win-win, surely. So what we're doing at Dragonfly is we're using, part of the many things we're doing at Dragonfly is using AI to predict fluent processing. And we can do that by, knowing that there's a great creative spark somewhere, that you can do this great creative, and you can connect with somebody and get the message right and everything. But also, we've got to accept that there is a place, there are times in which that creative is going to be experienced when people are not fully attending. So therefore, we can start to identify what the rules of attention are, because AI is very good at rules, and we know what the rules of attention are, and we can start to predict when things are going to work and things aren't. And we can do this by coming up with metrics. I mean, firstly, the eye tracking that's done in the first while is 89% as accurate. It's 89% accurate as eye tracking, the AI we use. But we can start coming up with measures like clarity. So if there are important bits that are going to tell the story, are those the ones that are going to be the ones that people are going to be drawn to first? And things like digestibility, is it going to happen in the right order? And so metrics like that are going to allow us to help predict whether something is going to be processed fluency or not. So that's one of the reasons why I said we needed to talk about attention. But there's another reason as well, and that's because it's not all about attention. Attention's a great metric. It does some really, really good stuff. There's lots of proof about that. But actually, in reality, it's got to fit in with other things as well. There are other functions. And those other functions from psychology, we know, have got lots of rules that determine how they form and how they happen. So take, for example, memory. We know that memory is really, really enhanced by things like questions, things like linguistic structure, things like repetition and rhythm. I swear that anything that you remember from your childhood of any advertising will be strong on both rhythm and memory. Rhythm and rhyme. That's highly likely. So AI can learn this, and we're actually training up models to do this at the moment. And it's the same with emotion. So aesthetics, anything that's beautiful, like the golden ratio, all of those kind of things are really important. Things like novel imagery, again, little visual plays on kind of our sort of creative mind. We love those. And emotional language, and of course, positive associations, all of those things, facial expressions, all of those things, all determine whether we have an emotional valence or not, and it determines the emotional valence of the thing that we're looking at. So, I wanted to talk about attention for 3 reasons. Firstly, ads work at full attention. Yes, we know that, and that's a laudable and desirable goal. But we also can make ads work when people are doing something else, when the attentional load is divided between the advert and some other task. The phrase we came up with when I was doing the work with ITV was, it's not about getting all of the attention and using it, it's about using all of the attention that you're getting. Secondly, attentional load theory is incredibly useful, and it's more than just where eyes point. There's a whole bunch of other stuff, and attention can be spread across all of the senses. And again, with Dragonfly AI, we're looking at some of those ways in which this, the spread of kind of attention and how it goes across the senses can be used. And finally, effectiveness is not all about attention. Attention is great, it's very measurable, it's very good, but there's memory, there's emotion, there's comprehension, there's persuasion, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that of psychology that we can look at as well. And those are based on rules that AI can learn. And I'm going to hand back to Steve.
Thank you. I feel very lucky to have you. I was really excited about this job before Ali came along, and then all these new toys to play with. But what I just wanted to finish before we get some questions, probably for Ali rather than for me, just on one important point from as a Dragonfly. And that is, these things are amazing. I was really proud of where we were so far when I sat here last year. I'm even more proud of some of the new technology and thinking that the team are coming with. But it's also important to mix it with results and commercial results. We know that buying technology is really difficult to implement. We know that coming up with this technology is the easy bit. Getting a whole company to change the way they do things is really the hard bit. So we focus a lot on making sure our customers are getting a return from that investment they're putting into these products and they're putting into this time. So if you do get an opportunity to come and see us, we're by the Centre of Attention bar. We can talk a lot about some of the real impact we're having in the world. And that, for me, is almost as important as some of the amazing work that Dr. Ali and team are doing as well. We also have a tarot card reader, so you can always go and see them and work out about your future, because I think creative's a bit of a mixture of art and science. Thank you, Ali.
Awesome. Thank you very much indeed. And Firstly, I'll retrieve my bean.
I was wondering what that was. I didn't know to
Yes.
pick it up or not.
Thank you, Dr. Ali, and thank you, Steve. So how can you engage with creatives? What's the process? Talk us through it.
Do you want to take that? So we can't, this is not a tool that can create creative. We're here to optimize great ideas, and that's really important. I've been doing AI since about 2000, sadly. I really don't believe that true creative thought can come from AI the way we have it at the moment, and that's really important. So these tools are designed to shorten the time we get our creative right. So a lot of our tools, once you have a piece of creative, an idea you want, you can very quickly iterate and test and see which ones grab attention, which one is going to be remembered, and which ones are emotional. So we're just providing tools to creatives who are doing their jobs and trying to make them as lightweight as possible, so the creative can do the important thing, which is the creative.
Executive creative directors are phenomenally sensitive creatures.
Are they?
Yes.
Oh.
How do you engage in, and what's the process like for an ECD or for a creative coming to work with you? Is it like a partnership, or is it that tools that you let them play with? How does it operate?
Great question. Most of our customers are actually brands direct. So we normally work with larger CPG brands, and what they do, they will have an amazing agency or creatives that they work with. So we first of all work directly with the brand, and we talk about what we could do, what a difference we could make, how we can grow, create more revenue. And then once we understand that's what we're trying to achieve, we'll show the tool to their creative teams, and we'll explain what we're trying to achieve with this. And then, we'll give it then. It's up to the creatives then to make the most of it. And we can measure, how good from using our attention score things are. And hopefully it's just a way of speeding up that battle sometimes you have about, is this right? Because we can give some real scores to it.
You say that distraction isn't a failure, but the CFO might feel differently.
I didn't say distraction isn't a failure, but I think there's this world in which we think of high attention is the important thing, not high attention, terrible disaster, nothing goes in. But as the stuff in Variety TV showed, it does. It simply does. And we are not in a state where we pay high attention to advertising all of the time. And there's a whole bunch of evidence showing that we can take on board information even though we may be doing something else. If anybody remembers Robert Heath and the low attention processing about 20 years ago, this is a similar kind of thing, except it's based on science, not kind of what Robert turned it into. But it's that kind of thing. It does work, and we know it works. When you're doing something, there will be people here who will be on their mobile phones now. They're still listening.
Yep.
They can still understand what I'm saying, even if they are checking their socials or writing notes or doing something else.
Yeah.
So it's a human thing that we're testing. We're not looking at it from an ad perspective, we're looking at it from a human perspective. The human perspective is we can do more than one thing at once. And if advertising is that thing, let's make sure that advertising is straightforward, simple, makes the right kind of message, is processed simply and cuts through.
Well, it seems to me that you're redefining what engagement means as we move forward. So thank you so much for your time today and for your presentation.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much indeed.
Well done, Alan.